I think we got to let the season play out a little bit.
I mean, maybe Brock Bowers could be the unofficial wide receiver kind of podcast.
Can the unofficial official wide receiver be a tight end? Welcome to My Gotta Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I preview Georgia's 2023 season, in which the Dogs attempt to become the first team to three-peat in the modern era of college football. We talk through what we're looking forward to seeing on the field, a few concerns, and we answer questions from you, our listeners. As always, remember to check out store.mygottapodcast.com to see our latest merch. You can follow us on social media at MyGottaPodcast. Now, let's join the conversation in progress.
Is that good enough?
I don't know. Sometimes the mic doesn't pick. I don't know. But so
sometimes the mic doesn't pick it up.
I've got early times because we are in the early times of college football season.
The
early times, bottled and bond.
Oh, I like early times bottled and bond. It's a classic one. A blue bottle of Note, which I happen to also have a blue bottle. It's Blue Note. It's a store pick I picked up from the local liquor store, Hops and Grain. I happened to get the same store pick when I went to Clemson last year. On the way to Clemson, I was like, hey, I got to get some bourbon. I got a couple of bottles, and this was the bottle that I had decided to bring to the tailgate and stuff.
2 years ago. You lost track of time.
Sorry. Yeah, 2 years ago.
I was just making. I was double checking because I was trying to make sure that was what you're talking about.
I'm back to the future. Yeah, no, it's we're already into the barrel proof. But it's a throwback. It's a throwback to to simpler times when we were just excited to play in a big game before what was about to transpire was the beginnings of a back-to-back, and now I'm hoping to bookend this on a three-peat national championship run here.
Yeah, seriously. I do remember, I don't know, like thinking back to that, we were still in that mode of like, man, can we get over the hump? Can we do that? And like, we're always predicting it's going to happen. And it's a different feeling now.
And we're like, I don't know what's going on at quarterback. We got the Hayat quarterback.
Oh my gosh.
We're not really sure what's going to happen.
And he's still around in college football somewhere.
Isn't he at Rice or something?
Yeah, JT Daniels, that beautiful man.
That beautiful
Rice.
man, JT Daniels.
Oh man, crazy. Yeah. So I guess first time with no guest for a while. Just you and I.
Yeah. Sorry, folks. You got just us today.
It has been fun. Rolling with the guests. We had some really good ones over the last few weeks. And got really good feedback from multiple people on all of them. So I guess, sorry Carter, one last time for last week.
Might as well. Might as well. I'm pretty sure he just swore on the podcast again.
Oh, too good. Man. So yeah. So I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm not like, are you ready that it's the season already?
No. And I'll give you a couple of reasons why. So, for us, we're back in school. So like, we've been like plugging along. I've got work travel coming up this week. I'm heading to Denver, on Sunday with, Carter to take him to little birthday getaway trip. We're going to go watch the Braves play the Rockies. And I believe we're going to meet up with some folks out there that are also Georgia fans that are happen to go to the game. So I've got that going on. We've been planning for my daughter's 16th birthday, kids sports. It's just like, not to mention the fact that it feels like it's we're in the fifth gate of hell down here. Because it's just like 1,000 degrees outside.
Yeah.
And it doesn't exactly feel, in the mornings it feels good, but in the afternoons it's just like, I can't imagine going to the Braves game or to UGA to watch UGA play a nooner.
Yeah, seriously. Have
they confirmed the times yet, by the way?
The first game is not a nooner. So actually that UT Martin is a 6 p.m. Remember, that's the return of night games at Sanford Stadium.
The
Get
return of
excited.
night games, right?
So that's the first one. But yeah, there was that day. I think you texted, or no, you tweeted. You tweeted last week. There was that day. There's always that day where you step outside and it feels like fall. You get that false fall, late summer, and you tweeted that, and so then I was like, oh, did I miss it? And I walked outside and I felt it too. So
Yes.
that was
It was
sweeping
nice
the
and
southeast.
chilly. Yeah, it was nice and chilly earlier this like this. I think what was it? Was it Saturday? I think it was.
It was like that all through the weekend here, at least.
Yeah, all weekend.
Sunday
Yeah,
morning, it was pretty chilly here. I mean, chilly, but it was like in the 60s.
yeah, exactly. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
Is it pullover weather yet?
Nice.
Is
No,
it baseball jacket weather?
no, it is not baseball pullover. I tried it because I played golf Sunday morning, and I actually wore it like a pullover just to get there. And then like when we got to the golf course, I got out of my buddy's truck. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm dying. So it didn't. It lasted for the ride to the course. That was it.
That's funny. Sounds about right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know
I have been hitting my stride lately. I kind of fell off the wagon on the running side of things. So I've been getting reps in for my Saturday runs. So never you fret, Georgia fans. That streak will continue.
Okay, that's what I was just going to ask. I didn't know if you were going to do that again this year. So gotta keep that going.
No, I'm just trying to ease back into it.
Gotcha. Well, you won't be able to run across the Sanford Bridge.
Gosh, what a segue! What a segue!
Sorry.
I'm sitting here. I'm enjoying our recording, Jim, and you just had to pour cold water over the whole deal, didn't you?
My bad.
Gosh, the bridge. Yeah, I listened to be fair, I listened to Cooler Heads on Wait and Since last Saturday. I think that I've kind of come to the realization that maybe I was a bit hasty and that I should probably take a more rational view and just wait and see. That said, I guess the pessimist in me and the old man just hates everything about it. I just can't. I can't even. If you look through the lens of an everyday Joe, right? Like, let's say that there's a crew that comes to the games and they don't necessarily have tickets, but they have, there's a whole sub society of folks that come to every single game and never go inside.
Mm-hmm.
They just go to the tailgates. Some days I'm of those people as well. I frankly, to be perfectly honest, like, so there's some games that I just would prefer to just hang back on the tailgate and just chill and enjoy the festivities outside the stadium.
Yeah.
But when you're of that ilk, as you and I have discovered, you become the vagabond tailgater, where you're like moving around from tailgate to tailgate and spot to spot. And that bridge is a huge interstate for such activities.
Yeah.
I mean, good grief. How often have I walked across that bridge trying to get from South Campus to North Campus?
Yeah.
That's like my go-to, right? Like, that's everybody's go-to. It's always like meet at the bridge, Like, we ran into Patrick Kindrigan at the bridge.
Yeah.
Everybody, it's a huge landmark. It's fairly central for a lot of things. And I just feel like that the closure there on a Friday night, by the way, so you can't even like walk across to like check out, Sanford Stadium in the evening, sometimes they may have the lights lit up and all that. So,
well, it's only closed on game days. It's not totally closed.
Well, it's closed on Friday night. They close it down the Friday before.
Got it.
I was kind of screaming at the guys on Waiting Since last Saturday when they were talking about that. I was like, it's closing on Friday. It doesn't close just 4 hours before the game. It's closing on Friday. Which makes it suck even worse, because, like I said, that let's say you roll in the town to go to the Harrogate Library to go and check out the Chalice, and then you want to walk across the bridge, and it may not be open because it's gonna be closed.
Yeah, I feel like I traditionally did not like navigate the bridge on game day until the last few years, and now I've kind of accustomed to it. We've been welcomed at multiple tailgates, and it's actually an easy way to get from one to the other, or has been, right? Like if we were over at Greg's and we wanted to go over to Hug Dogs, you could do that on our major trek Tennessee game last year, where we were Logan's to Tony's to Jason's to Greg's, all that, right? I mean, like it definitely comes in handy there. So that stinks. But I mean, it also stinks of it's a ticketed area. And like you're saying, like the folks that don't have tickets, I mean, you can watch the game from there. And now it's part of the stadium. And so you're taking that away. And I know some people have kind of hearkened it back to when they closed in the other end of the stadium. That wasn't always enclosed. Folks used to watch from the train tracks. Now it's not, I don't think it's entirely the same. There's not exactly the same level of being able to view it as well from the bridge as I think there was from the train tracks. So it's a little different, but it is still, there's a bit of that lens to it. And I listened to Wait and Since last Saturday as well. And I think, that's kind of, we've talked about, John, how many times have we talked about when you ask why, the answer is money, right? And so they're going to make more money out of this in some way. There's going to be something going on that side. And again, it's now a ticketed area. So, I mean, I think it does help as far as like moving around within the stadium. Like they've done stuff to open up the concourses, et cetera. And it helps move around there. But generally speaking, though, yeah, I'm not a fan either. I mean, I like it. I like it for the ease of walking around on game day. But then also, again, just that you're not going to see, you'd be sitting there in a game and you see people walking across the bridge. And I guess you still will, but they'll have tickets and they're just patrons of the games. That's, I don't know why, but that's different to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be different. Like when you go to dog walk, like it's going to be a little bit more sterile now because there won't be people up on the bridge clamoring for space, little children trying to look through the railings from the bridge, that kind of thing.
That is a big difference. Dog walk is a big difference, actually.
Yeah, I think that it's going to change the whole vibe of dog walk. It's going to make it even more chaotic at Tate. The foot traffic there is going to be even worse. I know that Logan's been very positive about it, and I've tried to like adhere to some of the positivity that they have mentioned. But like, I don't know. When Tanner Steins was sitting there talking about the alternatives, like, oh well, you can just go down these stairs, walk across, which is literally walking across. I don't know how those Tate patrons like Hug Dog and those folks that pay a hefty premium for those tailgate spots. To have literally everybody's going to be walking across there. So now there's going to be like a whole alumni situation because those stairs that they're talking about were fairly, they weren't really traversed all that much. Now they're going to be very heavily traversed. And then the Tate Center, good grief, like that's always been a cluster. Now it's going to be even worse. Like, I just can't even. And then the River Road option, like I'm like, really? Like we're talking about going down River Road, like from trying to get from South Campus to North Campus. Like to me, that just doesn't like. Yeah, I remember taking that walk from this. Well, at the time, it was like this. I think it was the psychology building down there. Walking up that hill sucks, man. Like, and the other factor that I look through it as, because I have, you and I, we have a fraternity brother, Josh. His son is a special needs, a special needs kid, and they have needs, and they have a, if they want to bring their kids to the game and stuff, it just makes things even more complex. And you're talking about the first thing out of your mouth is alternative routes, like around, which like is not direct, uphill, and then you mentioned stairs. Like what? Like really? Like that? It's just not even. So like basically, if you're a special needs person or an elderly person, like if you have a grandparent or your dad, that you want to bring. Like if I were to bring my father to a game, like I've been trying to bring him to games for forever, but he just doesn't move around. He's not as spry as he once was, right? So it would be a nightmare for him.
I'm also curious, like how many people are going to be surprised by it on game day, like how many people is the word really getting out? People are going to just go there because that's where they go, right? And they're going to get stopped. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I guarantee you for the first few weeks, it's going to be kind of that's why I say like it'll be interesting to where the Silver Dogs are.
Yeah, that's a good call. Good call. All right, let's talk about some happier things. We got a couple of news and notes I know we wanted to hit.
Hey, do you remember that time we won the national championship back to back?
Back to back. It was pretty awesome.
It was awesome.
The AP All-American team came out today. Georgia has 4 first-teamers in Brock Bowers, no surprise, Cedric Van Pran, Malachi Starks, and Jamon Demus Johnson, and then Javon Bullard is a second-teamer.
I've got this Brock Bowers fella on my list of players to watch. He's pretty good, right? I think he's going to be pretty good with the old foosball.
I mean, talk about differences now between 2021 when you bought that bourbon for the first time when you were on your way to Charlotte. Brock Bowers was but a mere freshman. You know, we hadn't really seen him. We didn't know what we talked about it. We actually talked about him as a player to watch, but we didn't really know.
We did.
You know?
We did talk about him. Yeah.
Then, oh boy, man, yeah, unbelievable.
This Brock Bowers fella has been turning a lot of heads.
But we do now know who will be throwing the ball to him. So that the first time, I guess not the first time, right? I mean, I was going to say the first time someone other than the mailman, but it was JT Daniels to begin with in 2021, and he did play some with him. But I guess not a great kept secret. Everyone's assumption was confirmed with Carson Beck officially being named QB1 by Kirby Smart. So I'm kind of surprised that he announced that, but I guess I shouldn't be. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm definitely. It's definitely not like. I mean, good gracious, like talking about like who's going to replace the mailman from back-to-back national championships. Like, if anything, this is the biggest quarterback battle that he's ever had to really deal with. I mean, I guess you could maybe argue Fields and Fromm, but like really, like Fromm had proven himself. He was the returning quarterback. So like
exactly.
This is like we're in uncharted territory in the Kirby Smart regime, which speaking of, like, I thought that like in the gap year there when we were flirting with Daniels being the starter and Stetson eventually went out, DeJuan Mathis was in there. Wasn't Carson Beck? Didn't he get a shot there for a little bit?
Wait, are you talking in 2020 or 2021? In the first Natty season or in the COVID year?
In the COVID year.
So in the COVID year, Beck redshirted. So like he was here, but he never.
But didn't he play?
No.
Was that when they could play like a couple of games?
You could, but I don't recall Beck ever playing. I could be wrong, but he definitely didn't play enough to not to like lose his red shirt.
For some reason, like it's sticking out in my mind because I remember like when we were like, oh, Carson Beck's not it. Like maybe he wasn't starting, but like. For some reason, I had an inkling that he like came in some games.
So he did in 2021. So in 2021, I'll refresh your memory. So in 2021, it was that UAB game, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so that was the game where JT was hurt, and the rumor all week was that it was going to be Beck, and he was totally expected to be the starter. And then come kickoff, Stetson started, and everyone was kind of like, "What?" And like a lot of people kind of freaked out. And then Beck eventually came in and threw a pick six. As I recall, like that was like, oh man, he looked like a deer. He looked like a deer in headlights. Yeah, I did just look. He had 0 passing attempts in 2020. I can say that he's not on my stats that I have from 2020. Beck.
Yeah, he played in one game, but yeah.
Okay.
It had to have been the 2021 UAB game because
that's what we're thinking of. Yeah.
I'll paint the picture for you. I remember that he came in and it was a situation where we were kind of close to the goal line. Maybe we were inside the red zone or something like that. Mm-hmm. And he was going up and down the line trying to direct traffic or whatever. And I just remember thinking like it's kind of like when a guy steps up to take a PK and they zoom in on his face before he takes the kick, and then you zoom in on the goalkeeper, and then there's like this gap where the referee has to blow the whistle or whatever. But like I remember Carson like looked like a guy that was just going to miss the penalty kick. You know what I mean? Like you could just tell that he's got there's no way that this is going to work. Like he's not the guy. And now here we are. And he's looked great in everything that we've seen. I heard the, practice reports that he was, maybe I think that this kind of applied to a lot of folks. Like they started camp slow, but he's really starting to find his rhythm. He's been named the starter in a quarterback battle that has never happened at the University of Georgia with Kirby Smart as a head coach. Mm-hmm. To me, it speaks volumes to how far the kid has come. And I'm hoping that we can finally put a Sean Kemp tomahawk dunk on the whole Kirby Smart quarterback situation, because I have a feeling he's going to have a big year.
Yeah. I mean, well, and let's not forget, John, that he has a great haircut for fall camp, not unlike Stetson last year. So
yeah, he's cut the long locks, and we just need that offensive line to get him faded up. And
no,
it's Cedric Van Pranda to get him faded up.
No, he doesn't have the long lock. He cut the long locks. He's got the.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
but he shaved his head, but he didn't get faded.
I got you. Okay. You wanted to take it to that next step.
We got to go to the next step.
I got it. Yeah. Okay. I mean, again, like, how weird is it though? I mean, like, is that the number one concern for you, is like replacing Stetson? Because I'm going to frame it that way, because it's so odd just thinking back like to 2020, or shoot, even go back further, like 2019, that we would say something like that. Which, I mean, I think we're all starting to realize that, what, Stetson Bennett was just really good, right? And he's looked good thus far in the preseason in the NFL. I mean, it's, we've got to replace a 2-time national champion, 4-time playoff game MVP. So
he's got a big shadow to cover. That's for sure. Yeah, I would say that this team goes the way that Carson Beck goes. And I'll caveat that with, he doesn't necessarily have to play like Stetson.
Yeah.
In order for this team to succeed, he just needs to control the game. And, I don't want to give the kid a game manager kind of nameplate here. But he just needs to let the process play out. You know what I mean? Like, not force balls, not put the ball into danger, because our defense is going to be lights out. And, one thing that we do know about Mike Bobo is his ability to kind of coach up quarterbacks. I'm hoping that, that fact will help him, because he's got a whole host of resources upon which to draw here. And I think Bobo kind of knows that. So I'll say that Carson Beck is definitely going to be, the way that this offense goes is going to start and end with how Carson Beck manages the game and manages his mistakes in particular.
Yeah, I think I hadn't even really thought of that. That's a good call, because like Stetson definitely could just forget about it. Like, he was pretty good about wiping the slate clean, move on to the next play. You mess up, forget it, move on, and then ball out.
I mean, he nearly gave the game away against Ohio State.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right. And then, but then we just turned around. Right.
Yeah.
Didn't have
be a goldfish, Carson. Be a goldfish.
Stetson had the shaky start in the first natty. Had the weird fumble. He just ran out of the field, fumbled it, but then threw all the touchdowns. So
there's a whole swath of people that are like, goldfish. What the hell is he talking about?
Gotta watch Ted Lasso. Watch Ted Lasso. I know, like, if you're listening, this, I don't know if this will be out yet or not, but I have been going back. So I've been working on a hype video, because I know we had a lot of people that kind of really enjoyed the song.
Expect it,
and there was a lot of pressure, frankly.
Damn it, Jim! Where's the
right?
Hype video?
So it's made. It just hasn't been dropped yet. It should be dropping soon. But going through it and looking at it, and just looking at what we have coming back, I'd say especially on defense, but on offense even, right? Like, obviously Brock, but I think like to me, the biggest thing that I think we'll miss is Kenny McIntosh, or like, because I don't think we have a guy like that this year in the running back room. So we're gonna have to see how Bobo utilizes the running backs and see how that goes. But I will say there's no AD Mitchell in the hype video, because he's not here anymore, and that's one of the patterns I followed from last year, is basically only use players that were returning in it. So I did follow that, but there are, man, like it was interesting just finding like how many big plays Ladd made. Found some great footage of Dylan Bell and all those guys. And where we do have AD Mitchell having gone to the portal. We've also got two guys that have come in Ra Thomas and Dominic Lovett. So I'm really excited about Lovett. I think Lovett is the guy to really watch coming in from that bunch, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do. I know he lit it up at Missouri, so I'm excited to see what Lovett does in the Bobo offense, especially with people are going to be focusing on Brock Bowers, right? So I'm excited about Lovett.
I hope that we give teams a reason to focus on Brock Bowers. I would love to see him win the Biletnikoff Award. Wasn't he like named like a preseason candidate for that award, right?
For the Biletnikoff Award?
Trying to put glasses on it.
I'll have to put glasses on it. The soundboard is back, by the way.
Soundboard
dusted it off.
It clearly is.
I know he was Mackey. Mackey is the tight end award, but you're talking about just the receiving award.
Yeah, I thought that there was I thought he was like kind of listed for the preseason, but maybe not. Maybe I made that up, but that would be amazing. Yeah, let's just go ahead and just.
Nope, you're right.
I was right.
You're right.
Yeah,
Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, and Dominic Lovett have each been named to the 2023 Biletnikoff Award watch list. Well done,
I believe that he is one of two tight ends to be named in that list, if I remember correctly. There's a tight end, I think it's from Syracuse. Yes, Gadsden, some guy from Syracuse. Which, I don't know anything about that. He must be pretty good because he's in there with Brock Bowers. So, Anyway, yeah. So I hope that we dial up Brock early and often. I hope that Brock becomes the go-to receiver that he had. One thing that I will mention, and this kind of goes back to when Stetson was first starting out. Mm-hmm. He had his favorite. He had his favorite wide receivers, right? Mm-hmm. Because he had been working with them on the second team for so long, right? Mm-hmm. I wonder, is Arian Smith maybe in that vein for Carson Beck? Because Arian wasn't exactly he wasn't necessarily the primary. He was also hurt. Yeah. So I feel like that it'll be interesting to see who Beck's safety net is, because Stetson had AD, which was obviously not around. He had Brock. He had Ladd. Ladd was another great example of someone that kind of had a breakout season in 21, right? He had been working with Stetson on the second team, so it'll be interesting to see how those guys that have been kind of waiting their turn, or maybe on the bubble, so to speak, to see how they step up. And you mentioned Lovett. Obviously Lovett has a lot of potential. It's interesting to see because Bobo, I realize it's the same offense and probably same terminology or whatever, but there's still some nuance and there's still some learning that's going on there. I mean, look at Ra Thomas. Well, I have a feeling that a lot of his is probably due to his poor decision making off the field, but yeah, Ra was a breakout star in the SEC already. So. And he's maybe third string at this point.
Right.
So I think the wide receiver room is a lot deeper than I originally thought. But as the summer wore on, I started becoming less and less worried about it. I really hope that Arian Smith I hope that he has a full season of just perfect health, because the kid has just been so unlucky. But when he's been healthy, he's been a revelation at the wide receiver position. Yeah. So, like I said, as the offense goes, Carson Beck's going to go here. Pray for his healthy, pray that he stays healthy, because behind that is where things get, obviously there's a lot of talent there. But if I were to say, hey, Jim, how do you feel about putting Gunnar Stockton in there today? I think things get a little bit more questionable on how I feel about the quarterback position. Even though I know that he's talented and presents a whole other, ball of wax for his game, maybe he becomes a little bit more mobile or whatever, because that's one thing that I'm a little worried about with Carson in terms of his mobility. I think there's some listener questions that are also kind of concerned about that too, the ability to create things with his feet. Offensive line, I'm not worried about. Defense, I'm obviously not worried about. Wide receivers, I don't have a whole lot of reason to worry about, but the running back position is the other kind of up in the air position group outside of Dejon Edwards, which, I've been calling for that little cannonball ever since I saw him in 2021. Like, that boy good,
Yes.
I felt like I was in an Eddie Murphy movie. That boy good. But
he's been a Mad Guy Podcast favorite ever since we saw him.
Yes. The unofficial running back of My God Podcast, if you will. I think that the running back group is another question mark really on this offense, because behind Dejon Edwards, you've got Kendall Milton, and love Kendall. I really, really, really wish that he would be 100% healthy wire to wire here, but he's already tweaked the hamstring again.
Yeah.
And he's already out again. And we have Andrew Paul, which, we've heard about, how he's got all the talent in the world, but he's also nursing an injury, right?
Yeah. He's coming back from ACL, towards ACL in fall camp last year.
Which, as we've seen from Nick Chubb, takes a while to come back. But once you do come back, you have the ability to succeed at a high level if you put in, if you do the rehab and all those things. But, and who was Cash Jones? Cash Jones obviously
we got Cash Jones. Yeah, well, we got Branson Robinson, right? Which we saw him, carry as a true freshman, 2 touchdowns in that championship game. But he's coming off injury as well, right? So it's just not a healthy room.
We're probably not. He's probably. I'm most excited about him.
Yeah.
Like if I had to be excited about anybody, I would say that Dejon Edwards is kind of like a little Chubb or whatever. The whole Branson Robinson is like a mini Chubb.
Yeah. I like what I saw of him last year. I hate that about him with his injury. I don't know. Like, I don't know what to make of it. Like, I just kind of feel like Georgia tends to find a guy when things like this happen. I tend to look to the past for things like this, and I think back to like 2013, 2014. Those years, right, where we had like all kinds of injuries, and then you've got guys coming off the bench. You can have true freshman guys step up, like that one year we had like JJ Green coming out of nowhere, right? Brendan Douglas, like that year, right? So I don't know. I feel like we'll find a guy. I think Edwards can carry the load. We just need more depth. So. That I think, to me, that's the concerning position right now. It's just on health, really.
So obviously there'll be some tests, there'll be some pokes and prods in the first few games, but I'll tell you where we're probably going to find out that that first game, that first real test against South Carolina, when you have a middle linebacker coming in on a blitz. I'll be watching just as much as you will on if Dejon Edwards is not in that game, because I feel like Dejon will not have any problems with that play. Picking up that blitz is who can pick up that blitz, who can pick up the blindside blitz, who can pick up the middle linebacker coming through the A gaps or whatever. Like, who can step up and lay a block on a guy that's coming through running free, because like I said, Beck is not Stetson. So yeah, I think that the plays that that he pulls out of his yin yang, where he's just running around and diving for the pylon, maybe he'll surprise me, because there's some guys in the past, we've had Stafford had some wheels on him from time to time. Fromm had some wheels on him from time to time. Good grief! Like, remember we used to like, just pull it. No one thinks you're going to run it. No one thinks you're going to run it. Are we going to have those moments with Beck? That kind of thing. We'll see.
I mean, in the times that we've seen Beck, we have seen him be willing to pull the ball and run on his own read. So I think I know like he will do it. So that's good. And you just need the threat that it might happen. Unlike 2019 Jake Fromm, where he wasn't gonna run. But yeah, I guess like with what I started mentioning earlier, and you were saying like you're not worried about the defense. That was where, when I was going through to make the hype video, watching, like, seeing again, like trying to filter out the plays made by guys who are not coming back, right? So the guys who are in the NFL, etc. I didn't have to do a whole lot of filtering. I mean, just the amount of talent we have coming back. Maybe some of the there's not a Jordan Davis, there's not a Jalen Carter, but there is a Michael Williams, a no different position on the end of the defensive line. But that kid really came on. I mean, he started right away as a true freshman, but really I feel like kind of came into his own late in the year. And then we've got just like the plethora of interior linemen who have played a lot of football for us, have made a lot of plays. And again, I think they're probably not as flashy as like a Jordan Davis or a Jalen Carter, but you got Zion Logue, you got Warren Brinson, you got Jamel Walthour, all these guys. I'm excited to see them kind of get to shine and have a bit of that spotlight. And then just up the middle of the defense, I mean, with Jamon Dumas-Johnson in the middle, and then with our safeties, I'm really excited about that. Just the middle of the field. I'm what I'm really interested to see is having with Bullard shifting over to safety. So having Malachi Starks and Bullard as the safeties, and then you've got Tyke Smith maybe in the slot or in the at the star position. Maybe it'll be somebody else. We'll see. But that excites me.
Will we see West Virginia Tyke Smith emerge?
Yeah, that's a good question. We will find out. So
you mentioned his name. I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that. Like we have a former All-American defensive back.
Right. So I don't know. To me, the question mark is who's replacing Kelee Ringo opposite Kamari Lassiter. So we've got Kamari Lassiter, locked down as number one cornerback. Who's going to start opposite him? And that's the big question that we don't know the answer to yet.
I actually think that we do have the answer to that. I believe it's going to be Humphrey.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're doing.
I mean, he is apparently as far as like freshmen go, like he's going to be like the Malachi Starks of this defense. Like just he's stepped in and basically has been with the ones ever since.
Yeah.
I think another guy that has been getting a lot of talk is Aguero. Aguero.
Yeah.
I'm triggered by Aguero as a Manchester United fan. Sorry for those of you that don't know. Aguero, yes.
We got to get as we're talking, I'm gonna double check to make sure I'm not lying. We've still got to get the Scott Howard pronunciation guides back. They still appear to be gone. I don't know what the deal is. We could have pulled that up to confirm, but those sound bites are not on the website like they used to be. And I just checked; they're still not there. Gotta get that fixed.
We gotta get that fixed. Yeah. Anybody with connections to Scott Howard and the UGA broadcast crew, let's have him push it.
I don't know what the deal is because there are other schools that use like the same.
Can Dantzler like get on him about that? Like, what can we do about that?
Yeah, we gotta check. I don't know. I know there are other schools that use basically the same like website builder or whatever, a template that we have, and they still have it. So I don't know. I've noticed that with some opponent research over the last year. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it's a Kirby Smart, Glenn Schumann, Will Muschamp defense. I expect it to continue to do what it does. And we're gonna keep playing Georgia football. I don't know. Like I think we've got this train rolling, right? So
I feel like I feel like this is like one of those situations where, Kirby Smart has enough of a body of work, sans Nick Saban, to kind of showcase that like everybody always said, like, hey, that defense is Nick Saban's defense. Like Kirby Smart just runs it kind of thing. Right. And maybe that was true for a certain extent, but like ever since Kirby left, like that defense has not been the same.
Yeah.
And it's kind of gotten to the point now where it's like, maybe we don't need to worry about defense as long as Kirby Smart's here. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really matter who the defensive coach is. Like, we got Shu, which is, he's great. But if Kirby Smart is roaming the sideline, that you rest assured that he's going to have eyeballs on the defense.
Yeah. Yep. Especially
at the secondary position.
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think again, it feels weird that I don't know. I think part of my issue back to like when I was like, "Are you ready for the season?" Like we had such a short summer here that I'm like all thrown off here in North Carolina. So I don't know, man. It's rapidly approaching. I'm excited, and like I said, making that video kind of got me more excited, got me back into the mode, and looking back at all the stuff and just being excited about what we've got coming back and some of the individual players. That was fun. So check for it on the socials. Hopefully it's out. Hopefully it's out already if you're listening to this, but if not, it'll be out soon.
Right.
All right. What else you got? We got a bunch of listener questions, but I don't know if we're ready to go there just yet. I'll give you the floor if you had anything else.
Oh, I guess the only thing floor related, it's not UGA related, but like it'll be kind of pivoting to the overall conversations that are going on in college football. And maybe we should hit this on the news and notes, but you asked me that and it just kind of popped in my head like, man, how do we feel about the expansion and all that stuff? Like, how are we feeling about Florida State going private equity and things like that? Like,
I hate all of it.
I hate all of it. Yeah. Like, what are we doing here? Like, this is ridiculous.
It's very, I definitely have the very much like get off my lawn feeling about it. My hope, and I've said this, and I've read other people, this is not like something that I came up with on my own, but what I could see happening is that everything expands to the point that we end up kind of going backwards. And so my joke that I keep making is that the Big Ten gets so big and adds so many West Coast teams that you end up with a Big Ten East that is basically the old Big Ten, and a Big Ten West that's basically the old Pac-10. And the Big Ten championship game is played in the Rose Bowl. And we've basically gone back to having the Big Ten and the Pac-10 because everything's going to get so spread out, and you're going to have everything so widespread that we're going to be like, oh, well, these teams have to travel so far. We should regionalize this thing. Like what it used to be. So I could see some of the conferences getting so big that they kind of go back to a division thing that kind of is similar to the old conference maps. And maybe part of that is wishful thinking because I don't like where it's heading. I don't want to be NFL light. I want it to be college football because I don't watch college football because it's the best football players in the planet. Those guys are in the NFL. You watch college football. It's like what we talked about with Jason Hasty, right? I mean, it is a regional thing. I mean, that's why it got so popular. And I know why. Again, the answer is always money when you ask why. Like, I know that's why, but it's disappointing that that's it to me. I feel like you're hurting what makes college football so special. But the ratings are going to continue to go up and people are going to watch and everyone's going to make more money. So they're not going to really care. So I don't know. Sorry, that's my Debbie Downer stake on it. But I hope that that it necessitates some form of breaking off eventually, right? Where you do end up with it being a little bit more regional again. But there's going to be an interim period before we get there.
I'm going to pose something. You just gave me a nice jumping off for the point that I wanted to make that has kind of been circling in my head especially ever since Florida State talked about going like basically private equity, right? There was a very traditional entity that recently had an uproar and created huge conflict across the entire sport and completely changed the sport when money got thrown into the equation. Do you remember that?
NIL?
No, it actually is not college football.
Okay,
but that was a catalyst. That's part of the catalyst that's led us down this this hill with the snowball effect.
Okay, so I don't know what you're talking about. Why don't you just tell me what you're talking about?
I am going to tell you. Well, you're a golfer, so the live golf situation.
Okay. Yeah.
I absolutely 1,000% can foresee something like that happening. Like if you talk about like the blue-blooded like situation that golf is and how easily money came in, foreign money, outside influence came in and basically just like sucked the energy out of a sport. We've seen it. British Bulldog and I have seen it at the soccer from the soccer side of things. There, in particular, this past summer, there was a huge influx of like big like players. You heard about Messi coming to MLS. That's great. Frankly, Saudi Arabia made him a much better offer from a financial standpoint, like dollars up front.
Right.
Anyway, but there's been a huge amount of stars that have gone to Saudi Arabia that you're like, wait, I thought they were on this team. No, they play in Saudi Arabia now. Like all it takes is something like that, an entity of Qatar, an entity of Saudi Arabia to come into the SEC and offer teams like Florida State, offer teams like Nebraska, offer teams like I'm trying to think, the Penn States of the world, the Auburns of the world, the Floridas of the world. Think about those teams that are super desperate for something to get immediate traction. The Miami, I mean, shoot, like I said, Messi, like the Miamis of the world. That are just desperate to be relevant again. And as we've seen with some of these, like the NIL, like what we were talking about, like Kirby Smart alluded to it at SEC Media Days, it's all about NIL. And if you can come in with a Saudi backed or a Qatari backed fund that is basically a bottomless pit of government owned oil money that basically shatters to death the Texas A&M situation, and anything that Texas could potentially throw at it, that could make waves in this sport. And at that point, you could basically say, well, we've invested in these 4, 5, 6 teams. We're going to make our own little conference, and it's going to be called the Live, the Live Football Conference or whatever. And we're just going to wait, and we'll wait it out for a year until the NCAA and the rest of the Blue Buds say, "Oh, hey, we kind of want all that," and then a takeover happens. You know what I mean? And instantly we're in Champions League football or, Super League football, which is, I mean, that's absolutely where this whole thing ends.
Well,
like,
it's
ultimately going to end in Super League NFL light football. Period.
Regardless of where all that stuff goes, this is the last season of the 4-team college football playoff. College football will be forever changed after this season.
Yeah. Enjoy it.
So, yeah, I mean, this is it, right? I mean, we get expanded playoff, the single soul crushing loss that is part of what has made college football special to me. And part of it is kind of selfish in that, like, we experienced so many of those over the years. And I always told myself, one of these days it's all going to be worth it because we're going to get to that mountaintop, and we're going to overcome it. And we're going to get there. And now we have, and now but people aren't going to have to deal with that going forward anymore. so I don't know. I don't like that, but
I would love, and I hope that Kirby Smart, we've talked about like the angles that he tries to find, like let's finish it up, like let's be the last the last national champion before everything got completely foobar.
Yeah, and you know what?
Let's just dunk on it,
Yeah, I mean, if we can finish this run out and finish on a 3-peat run of the 4-team college football playoff, it's going to make the rest of college football like even happier that everyone's going to 12 because they're like, well, maybe now someone else can have a chance.
Yeah, maybe someone else can have a chance. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure we're just going to change. We're going to change teams from Alabama, Ohio State. Maybe it'll be Michigan that'll have somebody hurt, wide receivers hurt.
Nice. All right. Well, why don't we go to the listener questions if you're cool with that?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to deviate us off of our
that's okay.
Planned attack.
It's our
podcast.
That's right. We can do it on it. All right. Let's see. Let's start off with Chad Jarvis. Does Georgia have a 1,000-yard rusher and 1,000-yard receiver? And do we go back-to-back years with a Heisman candidate?
I don't know that we have a 1,000-yard receiver, but I believe we have a 1,000-yard rusher.
Okay, I can get behind that. Considering we've only had 1,000-yard receiver ever, I can go with that. On the Heisman thing, here's the deal. My stance on us having a Heisman candidate is if we run the regular season table again, then we're going to have a Heisman finalist because we're going to be the best team in the country, and someone off the best team in the country is going to New York. I don't know who it is. It could be Carson Beck. If he's the start of the whole season and we do that, it could be Brock Bowers. But that's my stance. It hinges on our record because Brock Bowers is the biggest name and biggest star on this team, but it's hard to get there as a tight end. But if we go, if we run the table, then I think it could happen.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. So okay. was the question like, will we or?
Yeah. Do we go back-to-back years with a Heisman candidate? We had one last year. Stetson was in New York. Do we have anyone in New York this year?
Yeah, I say we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's going to be a toss up on how you absorb it, but I do think that Brock Bowers is going to get his yards. I think that if he gets his yards and Carson Beck stays healthy, then Carson Beck's obviously the one throwing him the ball. I don't know. I just feel like that's the way it sets up.
Yep. Agreed. All right, Fletcher Proctor. Who will be the new official wide receiver of My God a Podcast now that Kearis Jackson is gone? And then he said, "Is this picture a clue?" Because the GIF for this episode soliciting questions was one Ladd McConkey doing the finger guns in the national championship. And he has a second question, but I don't know, John, are we ready to announce who? I don't know that we're ready to say who someone's going to be. It has to be a little bit more organic. We've never had a podcast. We've never had My God a Podcast in a world where there's no Kearis Jackson on the Georgia Bulldogs.
I feel like it needs to evolve naturally. Yes,
because that evolved naturally. That was an organic thing, right? Like we didn't come into the season knowing that just kind of developed. So I think we got to let the season play out a little bit.
I mean, maybe Brock Bowers could be the unofficial kind of podcast.
Can the official wide receiver be a tight end?
Apparently, if he can win the Biletnikoff.
That's true. Okay, so Fletcher, we'll get back to you. We will see as the season progresses. We'll name one. I don't think we're quite ready to name one yet.
TBD. We may have some things coming.
So he said also, who is the most gifable player this year? And then he said, and more Muschamp gifts, please. So, I'm all in the fields about Stetson being
I have
gone.
an answer.
Oh, you do? Because
Yes.
Stetson has been so gifable for the last couple of years. So who is it now?
I mean, it's got to be Ladd. Like, it's got to be
That's
finger
true.
guns himself. Like,
That's true.
Mister, I'm just gonna drop a gifable moment for everyone. Like, yeah, no, it's got to be Ladd. And if it's not Ladd, it'll be someone on the defense.
Okay. Yeah, that works. I don't think I have any. So the only other, I feel like it's not going to be Beck. I feel like Beck isn't incredibly, like he's not like Stetson, but there is the one from last year we didn't make, but I know I've seen the video of his reaction to when Brock Bowers made like the juggling catch against Florida and he like had his hands on his face. That was a gifable moment, but very different. So yeah, we'll have to watch that. All right.
He's a quiet leader.
That's right. Oh, and more Muschamp gifts, please. So we got to get Muschamp on TV. But I agree. We've got a few. I think we can make that happen.
Is he going to be? Oh, he could be a question. Is he going to be in the booth or is he going to be on the sideline?
I would assume he's still on the sideline. I don't know the answer. Like
if
I haven't heard.
Sideline, that makes it a lot harder.
You think it's harder to get?
It's harder. It's harder to get a gifable moment for Muschamp, especially. Well, I'll just say this: it's harder for us to get a gifable moment for Muschamp these days than it is in the past, because number one, like he's not the head coach and he's not like super, the opportunities for the camera to pan to him are lower. I feel like the camera pans to the folks in the booth, and that's where we've gotten Monken and Hartley high-fiving and all those kinds of things. Like
True.
the booth people are isolated and have more opportunity for emotions to be shown. Whereas like whenever they zoom in on Muschamp, I feel like these days he's got his glasses down to his nose, which makes it like impossible to see his face. And he's looking at his card and he's like looking up looking like your dad, like I need to get my flashlight out here in Longhorn. Hold on.
Yes, that is true. Maybe we just need like old man gifts of Muschamp. Maybe we should just give that when we see it.
What I would love to have him do is to just have those glasses down like that, like all the way down to his nose, and just chewing some guy's ass.
I feel like he doesn't do that as much anymore.
He doesn't do it as nearly as much. No.
All right, let's see. We got a couple of questions about the kicker situation. So Meg Hires and Howard Four. How are the kickers looking? What's the kicker situation?
Listen, all I know is we're set on punter.
That's where I was going to say the same thing. Yes. So punter aside, so it sounds like they have not named a place kicker just yet. But it sounds like it's down to Jared Zirkle and Peyton Woodring. I know I've seen some stuff on the Dog Central board about them. One thing I find interesting, I don't even see Woodring as a true freshman. So he's like the freshman kicker that we signed out of this last class. And he's not even on like the roster on Georgia Dogs. So I don't know if it's not fully updated or what the deal is, but I know he's there. So
this kicker slander, just this disrespect for kickers. I hate it.
Like, so I don't know what's up with that, but look for it to be one of those two guys. I mean, that is a change. We've had Jackpot the last 3 years. So, kicker change for sure. That is a place to watch for sure. Because we've definitely never seen Woodring, and we've only seen Circle do, like more kind of mop up kicking duty in general. So,
wasn't it Woodring that was kicking like 50-yarders in practice or the scrimmage the other day?
Yeah, I think so. Like, it sounds like they're actually both kicking very well in fall camp thus far, is what I've heard. So,
right.
But I don't know. I mean, Woodring was very highly touted. So, for whatever that's worth, if you follow the kicker recruiting rankings, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's him. But we've got to follow that. Don't know yet.
Right.
All right, Noah Medwed. Which game this season will rack up the most expensive ticket? Last year was Tennessee, around $600 or somewhere in that range. Toughest ticket, I guess, in Athens.
That Kentucky game looms large.
You still think it's a Kentucky? Because it's either Kentucky or Ole Miss. But Kentucky, I feel like Kentucky is early enough that they can still have a pretty good record. Ole Miss is November 11th. We're pretty deep into the season. If it's Ole Miss, that means that they're having a heck of a season. So yeah, I think Kentucky's probably the best bet. I'll agree with you on that one, John.
Yeah, I think ultimately it's going to be Kentucky. I can do a quick peruse on the secondary market currently to see what that's trending like. I'm curious now, especially for Hunter's purposes. It appears to be Ole Miss. Oh,
right
no, I take that back. Currently, it's South Carolina.
That's a 3:30 kickoff. So
currently, it's South Carolina. $250 on the website that I'm using. $250 is the get-in price right now, followed by Ole Miss $207, and then Kentucky, the game that looms large, $195.
Okay, so not a huge variation across that. So yeah, I'll go with Kentucky. That makes sense. Let's see, Will Kaplan. Will, good to hear from you, buddy. What are we eating this year?
We're going to be eating the Chick-fil-A pimento cheese sandwiches is what we're going to be eating.
Oh, yes. Good answer.
I mean, who doesn't want to eat that, right? Like, I mean,
oh my gosh.
Really? Like,
yeah, I'm so excited about that.
This fall, it's going to be the pimento cheese Chick-fil-A with the jalapenos and the salted caramel or whatever the caramel crunch milkshake that they've got. Like, that's totally going to be a go-to for when the actual fall / autumn strolls around. But if it's not that, then it's got to be Guthrie's, right?
So that was going to be my only other point is, Guthrie's is coming back to Athens. So will it be open in time for football season? I don't know the answer, but if it is, sorry, Will, I know you're big into the Raising Cane's, but I got to roll with Guthrie's.
Sorry.
We're gonna Jason Hasty a couple of years ago, we're gonna fill up the Auburn chalice with Guthrie sauce, and we're gonna dip chicken tenders in it, and it's gonna be amazing. So
I don't even want to, Jason. These guys are savages. Like, I just want to pour Creature Comforts Classic City Lager in it and have a beer out of the chalice. Like,
that's fair. We should probably do that. So yeah, that's the main thing. As always, Panda's famous bean dip is also always on the menu for the season. So
Panda's famous bean dip has got to be on the menu this year. Didn't she bring it to? Did she bring Panda's famous bean dip to the Clemson game?
Not the Clemson game because we had to take a train to get to that. Yeah, did not. But we brought it to multiple tailgates last season. So
we did.
It made the rounds.
We did. I'll tell you what I'm going to be bringing, sir. This is late breaking news. Sort of, although you do this. My daughter is working at Nothing Bundt Cake.
That's right.
And I've already inquired about their UGA fair.
Oh, nice. Bring in the desserts.
I predict a red velvet cake in your future, Jim.
Nice. I'm up for that. I've got a sweet tooth.
Dude, have you had those cakes? They're amazing.
I have had those. Yes, they are amazing. They are
not
good.
A sponsor yet.
Hey, you got an in there now. You've got an in there.
I do have an in at the local Barrett Parkway location, which if you live in the area, my daughter is working the cash register and is probably going to try to upsell you at Nothing But Cake. So
nice.
Stop in and buy some.
Dwight wants to know, will British Bulldog be given the key to the city this year on his pilgrimage to Athens? Again, Kentucky looms large. Chris, we'll see you there.
He's going to be given the keys to the athletic facility. I feel like because he's going to be making a triumphant return.
That's right.
It's like the return of the return of the king over there.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, and he gets to drink from the chalice, right? I think.
I mean, I feel like it's British royalty. Like that's like a rule, right, Jason? Sorry.
Amazing.
I mean, it probably came from England anyway. So
I don't know. I think Dwight, if you're listening, I'm going to pose a question back to you because you're the arranger of things. So let's see if you can make that happen for Chris.
He's like the wolf, right? Wasn't the wolf like the fixer? Like he's like the guy.
Yes.
He's like the guy in Reservoir Dogs that just like fixes everything.
That's right. Let's see. Brett Belding. If game day comes to Athens, which game will be and why did they pick that game?
Which game is game day? If we have game day, which one's it going to be? Yeah. I'll let you go first.
I mean, I think it comes back to the same ones, right? So like, I think if you look at the schedule right now, like I guess the highest ranked team we have is Ole Miss, but that's pretty deep in the season. If it's Ole Miss, they have had a heck of a season to get that deep to be there. I think. I mean, is it Kentucky again? Like, could Kentucky be undefeated heading into that October 7th? I think it's early enough. I think it's probably Kentucky again.
So we've heard a lot of noise. A little. I mean, at least maybe I have. I don't know. My interpretation of some of these things is Missouri's been getting a lot of love lately. Missouri's schedule sets up very favorably for such an encounter.
They got LSU.
If they come out of LSU undefeated, a game day will be in Athens.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna say Missouri is the game that I am looking at.
Okay.
If Ole Miss can stay undefeated and stay unscathed, we could have game day in Athens 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, that's what that keeps being my thing with Ole Miss is that if Ole Miss can make it that deep and be having that good a season, that means that. So one of the things it means was that they would have won at Alabama and then beat LSU at home in back-to-back weeks in September. They've got a tough schedule. They do get Georgia Tech at home, so I like that. But yeah, and they've got Texas A&M the week before Georgia. So Ole Miss has a pretty brutal schedule. So I'm going Kentucky.
So call me crazy, but I just think that Ole Miss is just like, I don't know. Do you think that Lane Kiffin, like, I mean, he's like cobbled together he's like the opposite of Kirby, where he's like, Kirby's like very selective on some of these guys, you know what I mean? Like he's not necessarily we're not dropping like the insane bags that some of these people are dropping to get players. Whereas like Kiffin's like the complete opposite. He's like, we'll just piece together a roster from the portal. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
He's also talking like, if we're good, we'll be fine. Like he just doesn't seem like he's Joey Freshwater anymore. He's like, no,
something definitely changed. He definitely was changed by Alabama.
He got a hot girlfriend is what happened.
The Alabama rehabilitation program did a number on him. Yeah, he's very different. All right, so here's my reason is Kentucky. So Kentucky has Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, Akron, Vanderbilt, and Florida. So they basically have like a one game schedule in Florida heading to the Georgia game. So they could be 5-0 heading into Athens October 7th. So to me it's Kentucky.
So here's why I'm going to give you gave your case for Kentucky. I'm going to give you my case for Missouri and for Ole Miss. So you mentioned the reason for Ole Miss. So I'll give you my case for Missouri. Missouri has K-State, who is currently ranked. They're ranked number 15 or something like that. So 16. So they have K-State, South Dakota State. Let's see here. They start the season with South Dakota, Middle Tennessee, K-State, Memphis, Vandy. Then they play LSU. So very similar. And then they play Kentucky, South Carolina, and then they come to us. So you tell me, out of that schedule, if they remain undefeated, like, where do you think that they're ranked?
Oh yeah. So, but I agree with you. So with Missouri and with Ole Miss, if they can make it that deep, then yes. But to me, I think it's more likely that Kentucky goes 5-0 heading into Athens, and you've got 2 undefeated teams in Athens at that point than those other 2 teams.
Fair enough.
And so that's my reason.
Fair enough. What I would say is that if Missouri were to be undefeated, that means that the SEC East could potentially be decided at the end of November, which is crazy. But like, are we back? Are we back to like the SEC East is back?
Again, on the theme of this is the last season of all the things, the SEC East will cease to exist after this year. So it doesn't really matter. Unfortunately, yes, man.
Dang it, Jim. It matters this season.
Sorry, I ruined that. Let's see. We kind of talked about this one earlier. I know you mentioned it was a listener question. So it was 51-7 GTA. What are y'all's thoughts about QB1's ability to run and make something out of nothing if needed? Stetson had some big plays where he did that, like the first touchdown against Tennessee. To me, that's the biggest question going into the season. So, I mean, I think we pretty much talked about it. The only thing I'll say is, again, if you go back and watch, we definitely have seen, I guess here's what I'll say. I don't know, make something out of nothing. That is the big question. Like we've seen Beck run where he has that option, right? So if he's running the zone read, he may he is a threat to pull it and run. But the whole scrambling like Stetson would do and just run and take off and score a touchdown, that's not Carson.
Is Carson going to run 50 yards against Auburn?
No, yeah, he's not. That's not Carson Beck. He's going to keep his eyes downfield and he's going to look to throw. Is he going to naked bootleg around and dive for the pylon against Tennessee? No,
for 25 yards.
Well, if it's a naked bootleg, maybe. But what he's not going to do, I don't think, is get blitzed at the middle, break contain, and go and run and dive for the pylon. That's not. That's not a. I don't know. I mean, he could surprise us. We haven't seen him, but I haven't seen him do that. That doesn't strike me as his game. So,
in Kirby we trust.
That's right. Let's see. Aaron King, which SEC East team will give us our closest game this year? I think Tennessee will take a step back, and Florida doesn't have the talent to challenge us. So I'm leaning South Carolina.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. I guess the other candidates are the ones you mentioned earlier, right? Or you mentioned Missouri.
It's kind of draw the name out of the hat. Like Missouri gave us Fitz, right?
Yeah,
they've given us Fitz for the last couple of years.
Yeah, it'll probably it could be something random. I mean, if you think about the East teams, I mean, I haven't like looked into Kentucky as much, but I feel like they kind of are what they are now, and like they do what they do, and they slow the game down. I mean, I know Missouri gave us the biggest scare, but Kentucky was 16-6, like that was a low scoring game. They try to shorten the game. So I don't know. I guess I'd still go lean Kentucky, but
you could probably draw the name out of a hat.
Yeah.
On all three of those games, Missouri, Kentucky, South Carolina. I would say that South Carolina probably less so because there's just that, like, I don't know, Kirby, Shane Beamer situations. It's basically like Dan Mullen's not around anymore, so Shane Beamer is the closest throat to choke. And then the Tennessee game is just going to be the Tennessee game, right? So, like, I figure Kentucky, like, Stoops is just, like, notorious for, like, bringing the game down in the mud, which, throw if that, any of these games are, raining or whatever, like, that could set up for just, like, an absolute, it could just set up for an absolute clunker for us, which the Missouri game has been the last 2 years.
Right. All right, John,
my vote's the Missouri game.
Missouri. Okay. You'll go Missouri. I'll go Kentucky. Let's see. John Michael D. To clarify from last year's season preview, we 100% smashed the sorry Carter over. So we had a sorry Carter over under last year. We smashed it.
I don't even remember what it
was. He said that we kind of talked about it recently, but he wants us to officially lock in on the hashtag uniform Twitter over under of 2.5 jersey combinations this season? John, Georgia over under 2.5 combos.
Under.
I agree. I just don't. I'm not going to believe we're going to wear any kind of alternate until I see it happens. I'm not going to predict it anymore.
Yes.
And then he said another potentially fun one: over under on players with passing touchdowns. Over under set at 2.5.
I'll take the over on that.
I think so too. Just off mop up duty, if nothing else, and then maybe throw in a AAA.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Oh man, shocking. We agree again. Rambo, over under how many cigars / liquor bottles you will go through until we get to Dallas. I don't go through as many cigars, so I'm not gonna go through many cigars. I don't know that I'll go through
Dallas
any.
or Houston? I'm confused.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is Houston. It is Houston.
Okay. Well, you confused me. Sorry.
Liquor bottles. I tend to like spread it around. So how many bottles I'll finish off would probably be lower than you might think. Because I tend to drink just a little bit. I rarely drink from the same bottle in a row. So mine will be lower than you would probably think.
It's kind of an unfair question because I'm kind of low right now, so I'm probably going to be like inherently buying some here and there, like just naturally because I've already reached my cycle. I'd say probably 5 or 6 bottles.
Yeah, that sounds right. We'll say it at 5.5. I'm going to say it over. I'm going to predict. I see. This is where I can cheat. I can
smash that over.
What about cigars? Because I generally like have a cigar when we win a championship.
I actually just bought. An order of cigars. I can't remember when I bought the pack that I went through. I'm not a huge smoker. I like to have them every so often. I might have one every other game kind of thing. Maybe every 3 games. I'm definitely not the Bobby Wilson territory, but I just bought there's a website called Brad's Deals that has these cigars, and I've seen some of the cigars that Bobby actually smokes, the Olivas, that have been up, and they're like 10 for like, let's say 10 for like $40, maybe 30, $36, something like that. Which is a really good cigar. I've shown the folks that smoke cigars before I buy them. I'm like, hey, do these look good? And they're like, yes. As a matter of fact, I'm going to buy some.
Gotcha.
So I've got 10 coming, and I've got 1 in the chamber. So that should probably last me through, but I'll probably end up buying another one. So I'm just set it at what's the over under?
Yeah. So is it 9.5? Or is it 10.5?
It's going to be over. It'll be over 9.5.
All right, I'm going to set yours at 12.5. Mine, again, I don't really smoke cigars, so mine, I'm going to set it at 0.5 because before then, if you're talking about that time period, the question is, do the Braves win the World Series or not? So I'm going to set it at 0.5 because if the Braves win, that's I smoke. I definitely have a cigar after a championship.
I'll also throw out that like he didn't mention like giving them out. So.
Right.
I definitely have part of the reason I buy them is because I don't smoke them that much, but like I like to have some to offer to folks. Like, so the neighbors come over, hey man, you want to have a cigar? I'm like, yeah.
So I will say Rambo was throwing out like he basically is saying like you would have one after beating certain teams. So he had like after you beat the War Tiger, Plainsman, after you beat the Gators, the Tennessee Tech, SEC championship, playoff champion. So like I will say for me personally, like after a game, just the natty. As far as like I definitely have to smoke one. I just don't smoke a lot of cigars. So.
I smoked one after the Florida game last year for sure. So
nice.
Cool. Yeah, I mean for any of those big rivalry games, it's like, if you embarrass somebody, put a donut up at Tennessee, like, yeah, dude, like,
yeah, true.
Celebrate it. Because it's the last season.
That's right.
That's horrible.
Yeah, so bad.
Savor it, Jim.
That's true. All right, Sean Hardman. Can Georgia lose a regular season game and not win the SEC and still get into the CFP with all the talk about their weak schedule? I'll say it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it has to be to the right team and have them highly ranked. So I could foresee a scenario when it happens. I'd say it's unlikely, but you can't just lose to anyone on the schedule. I think you have to lose to, if Georgia loses to a team who goes undefeated and wins the East, and that's the only loss, then it's possible. That's the only way I can see it happening this year with the schedule the way it is.
I don't think that we can lose. We can't lose a regular season game. Sorry.
Fair enough.
Lose a regular season game and not win the SEC.
And just make the play. So pull Alabama back, not win your division and make the playoff.
No, not this season. I mean, unless something changes and we're, like I said, we have undefeated Kentucky, undefeated Mississippi, Missouri,
That's what I'm saying.
undefeated South Carolina.
Yeah, I think the only way it happens is if your only loss is to the team that wins the East and is undefeated. So so I think it's possible, but not likely.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Here's the only thing I'm going to add to that is that, I used to always get so mad about like the Bama rules, right? And Bama getting treated differently from everyone else. But at this point,
would it be?
right. I mean, because now that's us, right? I mean, we've won back to back. We get the benefit. We might get the benefit of the doubt.
Get the benefit. Remember, the checks go through Birmingham.
True. All right. Friend of the show, Tim Riley, no longer miserable in Minnesota.
We got to come up with a name for him. Is it like
I like the Georgia fan formerly known as miserable in Minnesota. We'll come with something. We'll discuss it at tailgate this year.
Yes.
What week will be our defining moment? In 22 is the comeback at Missouri. Everyone says Auburn is the big, tough road test. And he said, but I think we steamroll them. Looking for the unexpected week. We battle, but pull out the W Kirby style. Go Dogs. Yeah, I think, again, if you look at this.
It's going to be Missouri again. I kind of alluded to it. Like, I feel like that Missouri is just the way that they've played us the last couple of years has been kind of crazy. So I fully expect them to be coming out with like this whole mentality. And, their head coach is going to be talking about how they very nearly ruined two seasons for us. And they're going to be back for a third chance. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I just have a feeling that's just going to be another one that's just going to be a knockdown, drag out, like war for us.
Right.
Which, it is what it is. Not to mention the fact that they've been, there's definitely an element of, I'm taking this shit personal because Missouri has won a couple of recruiting battles against us lately.
True. Is it cheating if I say the SEC championship game?
Yes.
Okay. If that's cheating, then I'm going to go
because every season, each of the last two seasons, we've had one of those games. Like again, it's been Missouri.
Yeah. No, but I'll get to why I think it's going to be the SEC championship game. But if that's off the table, I'm going to throw Hunter a bone. Say it's Ole Miss because we're going to have our boy Hunter Jones in Athens, and it's late in the season. Maybe they give us a scare, and we do what Tim's talking about.
It's the game for him to cap off his SEC feathers, right?
That's right. The last
scalps.
The last team in the SEC that Georgia has not beat under Kirby Smart is Ole Miss. So, correct. All right. So, we got Bobby Wilson. Who will our Dogs play in the SEC championship, and what 4 teams make the playoff? So this is something we usually always do at the end of our season preview. But so Bobby, thanks for throwing this out there. This way we have it written down. We don't accidentally forget it because not like we haven't done anything like that before. I also love how it was. I love how it was phrased in that just who will we play in the SEC championship? Not even asking will we make it because obviously.
Love the energy, Bobby.
Who do you got out of the West?
LSU. I think Alabama has 2 losses by the end of the season.
Woo!
I think Alabama's done, man. I think they're done. We're over the hump. Like the gif of Kirby jumping in front of Saban has come to pass.
Okay, so I think that's definitely possible. I'm gonna say Alabama, and maybe part of it is for poetry of this is the last season with SEC East and SEC West. It's the last season of the 14 playoff. It's the last season college football is going to be like it is. And I just think it would be poetic to have Alabama in the SEC championship game. So I'm going with Alabama.
Jim, sorry, Carter, your poetry. I am done with Nick Saban. I'm done with Alabama. We have ridden that into the ground. I'm ready for something new. And I think that LSU is is just happens to be at the right place at the right time. Brian Kelly happened to hit at the right place at the right time. He's got recruiting. I don't know. They beat him last year. Like I think that the blood's in the water.
Yeah. No, I mean, if it's not Alabama, it's LSU. And honestly, if you had picked Alabama, I was going to say LSU. But we can't agree.
I believe we call that hedging bets. All right, so here's the biggest reason I'm going to tell you that. Here's the biggest reason I'm going to tell you that I think it's LSU, and it has to do with something I texted to the thread earlier this morning. I was shocked to find out that Alabama only has 4 players on their roster currently that are that ranked in the top 100.
Right. Yeah.
LSU has 6.
Do you
know how many Georgia has?
I should know because it was discussed this morning.
Georgia is the number 1 team in the country that has the top 100 players, and Georgia has 10. The next closest team is Texas, LSU with 6. Okay. We have 4. We have 4 more than the number 2, and Alabama only has 4, but yet they have a blue chip ratio of like 80% or something like that. Yeah. Anyway, I say that all that to mean that I just don't know that Alabama has the horses anymore. Yeah. Georgia does. I'm sorry.
I know we do.
Georgia does.
Yeah, we definitely do. And I don't know. I like logically, I agree with everything you said. Actually, something that Chris Marlar said though kind of jumped out to me. When we had him on about
noted Alabama fan.
Alabama. Go ahead. Yeah, we can't trust him. Why am I even quoting him? But he had that comment. It was like that Saban had never gone 3 years without an Natty at Alabama. But so the interesting thing about that
3 years without Kirby Smart.
Well,
sorry, Chris.
Love
you, mean it.
So the funny thing about that to me though is that like it's things like that are why we're gravitating to Alabama now, and not like you said, right? Like not like how many players they have from the recruiting top 100, like not these logical things. It's usually like, oh, well, they just are more talented and they're a better coach team, and so therefore they will do these things. And now it's like, well, never count Saban out, and Saban's happy in press conferences, and me looking for poetry. So I do find that interesting.
Is SEC football, and in particular CFP football, Jimmys and Joes, or is it X's and O's?
It's Jimmys and Joes.
Who wins the Jimmys and Joes battles in these situations?
Well, for the West, we're only talking. You're talking LSU.
The West is LSU,
A&M, and Alabama. So
LSU has the elder statesman quarterback too.
Yeah. Bama's quarterback situation definitely concerns me.
Yeah. If I was an Alabama fan, I'd be concerned about the quarterback too.
Yeah.
If I was a Tennessee fan, I'd be concerned about their quarterback. I mean, God knows the Florida fans are concerned about their quarterback too. Here's the other thing that we haven't really even truly discussed very much is like Hugh Freeze could just pop up out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but like who's Auburn? Talk about like who's the quarterback? Like who's Auburn's quarterback? You know,
I don't care. Like it's Hugh Freeze, right? Like it doesn't really matter. I say that just to say like I don't think that year one is where he's going to make his mark, but he's definitely a coach that's capable. Very similar to. Did you think that Brian Kelly was going to pop up and beat them last year?
No, yeah, that was definitely ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
I will say Hugh Freeze and Auburn, they're going to come up and beat someone they shouldn't. You know, they're going to knock somebody off and spoil something there. But yeah, I don't expect them to contend for the West in year one. They've got too many holes on the roster.
I told you Alabama's going to have 2 losses.
Yeah.
And Hugh Freeze has beaten Saban how many times?
Yeah, but one of those losses is to Texas, and that's a non-conference, so it doesn't count in the West standings. I'm just throwing it out there. All right. Are you ready, John?
We're ready.
All right. It is time for Coach Trillbill's Over Unders preseason edition. A welcomed return this year. Again, we did not have to rename the segment because Coach Drillbill's Twitter hiatus is,
I don't know.
He is back.
What we have called it, like over unders that go hard or something. I don't know.
It was gonna be coaches over unders presented by UGA picks that go hard. All right, first up, preseason.
Also of note, come to My God a Podcast to hear that song in context.
Wait, what?
I said that song because we're like I said.
Well, as of man, it really is the end of like everything this year.
It's the end of everything. Everything that we love.
No more SEC East and West. The playoff is expanding. Teams are moving everywhere, and the SEC is leaving. That song is going to be played for like Big Ten games.
Yeah, that song is going to be played for Northwestern versus, I don't know,
Rutgers. We got to go with Rutgers.
Rutgers, Purdue. I don't know. Just imagine it.
Yeah, no good.
Ugh.
No good.
Ugh.
So we're gonna have to have the conversation with Coach if we still use that song for this next season. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. We're not ready yet. We're gonna hang on to what we've got for now.
Hold on to your life.
All right, JP. Team passing yards over under 3,500 passing yards.
Smash the over.
Smash the over. Okay, I will also say over. We agree. All right, team rushing yards over under 2,500.
Team rushing yards.
Oh, I answered the last one. You go first.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm so out of practice. We have to alternate. We have to make it fair. Otherwise, I would just say the same thing.
I thought you were in charge here. Jeez, screw it. I'm in charge.
Okay. Thanks for keeping me honest. Over under 2,500 rushing yards. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go over.
Ooh, I'm gonna go under.
Okay. We got to disagree with something. All right, your turn. Total offensive touchdowns over under 75.
Over. Based on our math.
Agreed. I'm gonna take the over. Okay, so then my turn. Over under 10.5 Brock Bowers total touchdowns. So he would have to basically get more than he got last year. I'm gonna say he does it. I'm gonna say over.
Ooh. You're saying that he's going to have more touchdowns than he had last year? How many he had last year?
10 exactly.
He had 10 exactly last year?
He had 7 receiving and 3 rushing, which is just so amazing. But anyway.
Well, considering I want him to win the Biletnikoff, I'm going to go the over.
Nice. Okay, let's see. You again. Over under defensive passing yards, 250 a game. Over under.
Push.
we have our first JP over push of the season.
I think it's going to be. Man, that's good. That's a good line. That's a good line here.
Yeah,
I'm going to say over.
See, this is where I was going to say over, but now I'm already at the point of do I want to hedge my bets? I'm going to stay in stride with you and say over. Defensive rush yards allowed per game over under 95.
That's you. It's on you.
It is on me. I'm gonna be bold and say under.
I'm gonna say over. There's no Jordan Davis or Jalen Carter on this team.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. All right. Back to you. Total turnovers forced over under 12.5.
Oh, wait. How many did we have last year?
We had at least 12. We had 12 picks. I don't have fumble recoveries. So.
I think we. Oh, no, that was something else I was looking at.
All right, we had 15. We had 15 turnovers last year because we had 3 fumble recoveries.
I'll go over.
Okay, I'm also going to go over. And then total sacks over under 20.5. I'm going to go over
20.5. I'm not going to hedge my bet, so I'm going to go over.
Okay. Special teams touchdowns over under 1.5.
Over.
I'm going to go over. And Heisman finalists in New York City over under 0.5.
I'm gonna go over.
All right, I'm gonna stick with you there. We talked about that one earlier. All right, he had some bonus scoregami over under. Do you know what a scoregami is, John?
Okay, so I believe that it's where there's like a score that's never happened before, like that the total adds up to something that like has never happened.
and it's not even necessarily the total. So it's like,
oh no, yeah.
It's like just the two scores.
The two numbers, yeah.
Yeah. So he says
like there's never been a 2-1 game.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so you'll see some like, so like 21-14 has happened, many, many, many times. Right. But you'll get some of these random ones like, you get like a 22-8 or something. I don't know. I'm throwing that out. It's like, maybe that's never happened. So he said, for SEC scoregamis, meaning that the score has never happened for any SEC team, he set the over under at 10.5. And he said, for what it's worth, last year, there were actually 10 SEC scoregamis.
Okay.
I'm going to take the under. I'll take the lead on these.
I'm going to take the under.
Okay. And then for Georgia scoregamis, he set the over under at 6.5. He said last year there were 7 scoregamis.
I'll go under.
All right. Well, I got to just keep pace with you. I'm going to go under as well. Because I feel like every year, like there's
I
been
don't know
more.
enough about it.
I feel like the odds of it happening again go down because there's less scores available.
I agree.
That was my very quick math that I just did in my head.
It was my understanding that there would be no math.
Fair. All right, well, that's it. That's it for coaches preseason over-unders and bonus scoregami over-unders. So thanks again to Coach Chill Bill. Always appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for sending those our way. And a reminder, we don't track these, but thankfully Coach tracks them for us now. So thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
Oh, all right. So that's the season preview. After previewing the season in our roundabout way, are you ready for the season now, John?
I'm ready for the season to get here. Talk to me about this after we do our game week preview. I'll be ready because I got so much up in the air right now. I will be probably, I think, so my daughter is going to the mountains, so I'll probably be solo on that one.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so on that note, quick programming note. So for the UT Martin preview, it may come out a little later in the week than a typical game preview, maybe, but just by like a day or so. Because you're going out to Colorado with Carter.
I am.
And so I think we're going to record when you guys get back. So it may come out like Thursday, Friday at the latest, but maybe on Thursday that week. So just a heads up for the folks.
Yes. And if you are in Denver, let me know.
Nice. Well, like I said, I think making that video, it kind of got me back into season mode. And talking to you definitely helped me get back into the season mode. I'm ready, man. Ready for the last season of college football in this format. And why not just go ahead and make it a three-peat? Oh crap. Okay. I made the joke about that Bobby asked a question and helped make sure we don't forget, but we didn't even answer all of Bobby's question. I just realized that. 4 playoff teams. So we did SEC championship, and we went so long about Alabama versus LSU. So who do you got? I can go first, or either way. We got to name our 4 playoff teams.
The playoff teams. Okay, got it. Okay.
So
who goes first?
I can go first. Although I have a joke. My joke is if you're a conspiracy theorist. Here's my conspiracy theory. This is not going to be my pick, but my conspiracy theory is basically your pick from last year. So I think last year your prediction was Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, and Ohio State. I think. I think so. It'd be something like that, or you could say Georgia, LSU, Michigan, Ohio State, and so then you get everyone so mad about it being 2 SEC teams and 2 Big Ten teams that all they want is they're just clamoring for playoff expansion because they think that that's dumb. So that's my conspiracy theory. I'm not going to go with that though. So I'm actually going to go Georgia, Clemson, Michigan, and someone out of the Pac-12. And I've gone back and forth between Utah because that was my playoff pick last year, and they did win the Pac-12. They just didn't make it to the playoff. Or Washington. I know Graham Coffey has been really big on Washington. So I'm going to go with Washington. I'm going to go with the Huskies. It's my father-in-law's alma mater, and they're also dogs. So I'm going to go Georgia, Clemson, Michigan, Washington.
Wait, hang on. What? Talk to me. Washington?
Yep. Pac-12 champs.
Is that what's his face? Who's the head coach out there?
Who's the head coach in Washington?
Yeah. Is that Chris Peterson or whatever?
No, he's gone.
No, he's gone. Okay. Dang it. Okay. Sorry. I didn't realize they snuck up on me, I guess. I don't see Washington. I think Clemson, dude, if Clemson gets through that schedule, like that would be impressive.
Yeah.
I don't see them getting through that schedule though. Maybe. I don't know. They got Florida State, they've got Notre Dame, UNC's ranked, South Carolina could be on the up and up, but if they get through that schedule, I'd say that if Clemson runs the table in the ACC, they're shoe-in. I'm after consideration, I'm thinking that they're probably going to run that table. Okay, so Clemson, UGA. I also agree with Michigan.
Okay.
And then who's the fourth team? Who's going to be the fourth team? Let me see. Who does Texas play after if they beat Alabama? Is the question.
All right. They got Rice, Alabama, Wyoming, Baylor, Kansas, Oklahoma, Houston, BYU, Kansas State, TCU, Iowa State, Texas Tech.
If Texas makes it through that schedule, I'd say that they're in too. A lot of people are saying that Texas over Alabama. I'm gonna go Texas. As much as it pains me to say that.
Oh God, nightmare scenario. Georgia, Texas in the playoff against AD Mitchell.
That would kill me.
Yeah, that would be crushing. I don't like that.
So my thought process there is, I feel like Quinn Ewers is going to have one of those like CJ Stroud type seasons.
Yeah.
Why am I so high on Michigan? I don't know. I really don't have a reason for Michigan other than they play in that conference, and I feel like they're going to beat Ohio State.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're returning their quarterback. Ohio State isn't. So,
but USC's also got a quarterback coming back too.
Yeah, but they still couldn't win the Pac-12 with him last year. So
that's fair.
And Lincoln Riley is their coach, and he can't win the big game. So
Mark Richt has lost control of Lincoln Riley's programs.
Exactly. All right. Well, I had to bring us back to that.
I would enjoy that. I would enjoy that playoff scenario, to be honest with you, because it brings everything back full circle and it excludes Alabama. Screw them.
Okay, that's fair. Well, sorry, Bobby, for almost forgetting half of your question, even though I made that joke. So I don't even know how I randomly thought of that. Well, cool. Well, yeah. So I guess we'll have the last season in this format. And like I said, why not go ahead and repeat and close out the 4-team CFP era with a three-peat, and then we can move on to the 12-team playoff.
Absolutely. Let's do it. I feel it. We're gonna bookend it, and I said Sean Kemp. We're gonna Dominique Wilkins this dunk.
Nice. Love it. All right, man.
Awesome. It's good talking to you. Good catching up. I'll let you know how Colorado goes.
Nice.
We leave on Sunday night. I know he's going to be stoked. I actually just called that out to him today. I was like, do you realize that a week from now we're going to be in Colorado? He looked at me and goes, oh yeah.
Nice. Awesome.
So anyway,
cool,
baseball season's getting started. So we're ready to go. I'm ready for fall.
Sweet. Awesome, man. Yep. And you got it. I forget it every year, but Carter and Kim have very close birthdays because this weekend is Kim's birthday weekend. So don't think I'll be watching any of the week 0 games on Saturday.
Who's playing?
Yeah, Notre Dame is in Ireland again. That's about it. Hawaii at Vanderbilt in the high school stadium. Those are the only games that I can think of. So,
got it.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll be back next week to preview the first game against UT Martin when the Dogs will be back between the hedges for a night game. So
awesome. Yeah, let's do it, man. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.